In this video, I'm going to be covering a new feature that was just released in the latest Irrigation Checkups app update. This feature I'm calling Positive Assurance. And what does that mean? Well, when you perform a checkup using the app, you get a report in a PDF format that will show all of the assets, and those are pumps, backflows, controllers, and zones that you have set up for that property. And if you have found some issues that require repair, you've added those to the report. But at the end of the day, all of the assets are shown on the report. Well, what if you didn't actually check everything? On larger properties, there are instances where you just can't get to everything on that checkup, on that property visit. There may be instances where you're actually not looking at the backflows every time. You're just running through the zones. So in order to clarify for your customer when you give them the nice report that the Irrigation Checkups app generates for you, to clarify what was actually checked, this new feature will do that for you. So let's first go and see what will it look like in practice, and then I'll show you how to set it up, because by default it's not enabled on your account. That's so that with this update you can just continue doing what you've been doing. But if you'd like to set this up, I'll show you that at the end of the video. So here we're logged in on the Checkups Incomplete page. You get to that from the top, as you would know if you're a user of the app. And these first two checkups in the incomplete list, I can tell are using this new feature because in the status column, there's a shield icon in front of the status. So these two new checkups, one is red and one is yellow. And if I hover over it, a little pop-up will give me some information as to what the colors mean for those shields. So if it were to be green, that would signify that all the assets related to this property have been checked. If it's yellow, only some of them, and red denotes that no assets had been checked yet. So this first row for Dolores May, this is a new checkup I just created. So let's click into it, go to the checkup details page, which is the page that you use to perform the checkup when you're out in the field. And what you will first notice is there's a new button at the top called Assets Checked with that shield. There's also a copy of that button at the very bottom. So if you have a large site with a lot of things displayed on this page, you can get to it either at the top or the bottom. But if we click that, it opens a pop-up showing the assets currently checked. And it provides a table of all of the assets that you have defined for this property. So this particular property has one backflow, one controller, and 4 zones tied to that controller. And in the right column here, under checked, we see a yellow shield with an X in them, and that just means they haven't been checked yet. So this is the first way that you could signify that something's been checked by actually just clicking the shield, and you'll see that it automatically turned green with a check mark in it. So that's going to signify that we have checked this. Now that's just one way to do it. If we scroll down to the main body of the checkup page, where we have each asset type listed, so first we have backflows. Each row of the backflows, so this property just has the one, you'll find that shield again at the end of the options icons. So if we were to click that shield icon, it turns green. So that's a quick way of saying, hey, we actually did look at this backflow and there was actually no issues with it. The other way that you can do this, so I just clicked it again to kind of put it back to the default has not been looked at, but let's say we actually go over to the backflow and check it out, and in the report template settings for this report type, it's a very basic single call out called repair backflow. Nothing too detailed there, but we could say something like leaking at the shutoff handles. We could add some items to the quote if we wanted to. You don't have to. But when we click add repairs to the checkup, when we get brought back to the main checkup page, we see that that shield icon automatically turned green because we've added a repair to it. So it's a assuming that because you've added a repair to this asset, you must have looked at it. So you don't have to do anything outside of what you normally do, just adding a repair. Now, if you go and look at it and there's no issues with it, you would want to click that shield and turn it green. Same thing for controllers. And then for zones, there's actually a third way to toggle that shield icon to say that you've looked at it. So let's jump into zone 1. So let's say we've started the controller, it's running every zone for a couple of minutes. Heads are popping up and we're looking at the zone and looking for these callouts to see if there's anything. So let's say zone 1, which is our front flower beds. Everything looks perfect. All the heads are spraying correctly, there's no leaks. And so we have this new button at the bottom called No Issues. And so previously we had a skip button, which has now been moved over to the left side of the footer. And instead of saying skip, we say next, because we actually want to positively say that we have checked this zone. And so by clicking this No Issues button, it's going to toggle the shield for this zone green, and that will be recorded that yes, we did look at this zone and there's no issues. And then same as the other assets, if we were to add repairs to this zone, it's also going to toggle that. But if we click next, which is the previously called skip button, let's say that we're walking the zones and the zones are actually not laid out in numerical order, and the zone you're on currently is actually on the other side of the property, and so you just want to skip it for now and not make a determination of whether there are any repairs required or not. So you could click next. But for this zone, I'm going to say there's no issues. It's going to automatically move me to zone 2 because the little toggle switch on the bottom, go to the next zone, is enabled. So that's why it sent me to zone 2. And let's say this zone actually does require a new rotor. Maybe 2 heads actually need to be raised or 2 rotors. Again, we don't have to put anything in here. We could just say leaking at seal, something like that. You could add items to the quote, but we're just going to add the zone repairs. Now, something I didn't mention on that last zone was when we added a repair callout. So let's say we have a misaligned head, maybe some obstructions in the zone. That no issues button got grayed out. It's now disabled. I can't click that because we have said that there's issues in this zone. So we either have to add the zone repairs or cancel or remove these issues. So if we remove these, now we can say no issues. So that's just something to remember. Let's go ahead and give this one some issues. We'll add them. Zone 4, everything looks great, no issues. And so we have now gone through all 4 zones. All 4 shields are green. So we could go back to this assets checked summary and see, okay, well, we've checked everything, except for we have not actually looked at the controller. So you could look at the controller if that's part of your workflow. Maybe check to make sure the sensor is enabled, the rain sensor is enabled. Maybe you check that it doesn't require a fresh battery, whatever you may do. But let's go ahead and click the green shield there. So now everything is checked. We're done with this checkup. Let's just go up and make sure everything at the top is set correctly. And we can go ahead and create the PDF. Now, when the PDF generates, you will find that with this option enabled, this positive assurance kind of asset checking, there are some new indicators on the report itself to help you and your customer understand what was checked. So with this feature enabled, we now have these status bars at the top. There will be one, if this property had a pump, there would be one for pumps. If you're not adding backflows to the property, that would not show up. Only what you've added will show up here. And it's telling us that 1 of 1 was inspected for backflows and 1 of 1 controllers were inspected. So if you had a large commercial property with 4 different controllers on it, but you only inspected 1 of them, it would say 1 of 4. And this would let your client know that it was only a partial property inspection. Now at the same time, let's say we did not look at the backflow, which we can actually go back. Let's go back to the checkup, we can modify this. And let's remove this repair. Let's say there is actually nothing there. So we didn't actually look at the backflow. Maybe this is only looking at the irrigation on this visit. So looking at the matrix again, backflow is going to stay yellow. So let's recreate this PDF report. And when this popped up, if everything works as it should, it will show that 0 of 1 backflows were inspected. And what you'll also notice is the backflow information is not even put on here because we didn't inspect it. So why even list, what type of backflow it is, where it's located? It's just not on here anymore. So this will also save you space on your reports. One thing you'll also notice in the zone descriptions, so this table, there's a new column that has a checkbox. So if for some reason there was zones that you did not look at, maybe the property, HOA property is a good example. Sometimes there's construction in, kind of those common areas along roads, and zones are turned off temporarily while the construction is completed. And so instead of saying that you inspected a zone that's turned off, you could just have it unchecked. And so that way your customer knows, hey, you're not just checking everything for no reason, to get the report done. You actually did skip those zones because they're under construction. Whatever you may need to communicate with your customer, that's how that would work. And so to see how this is set up, we are going to go to Support My Account. And under Report Templates, you want to choose the template that you want to set this up on. And actually the one that I was just using was Repair Checkup Detailed New. And in the second column of the configuration options, we have Show Assets Checked on PDF. So you'll want to enable that. And then there's a secondary option. You don't have to use this, but to hide the assets not checked. So if you want to have a more efficiently sized report, so you're not showing things that just were not looked at, you would want to check that to hide those assets that were not checked. If you don't have this checked, that's fine. It will show everything on there, and then just the user interface will show the check marks along the assets, and then at the very top of the PDF will show those status bars. And so that's just how you set this up. You'll want to update the template for that. And just remember that, as always, if you make any changes to the configuration options of a template, they only will show up in brand new checkups. So you'll have to do new and then start a new checkup. Any existing checkups that are in your incomplete or completed tables, those do not get updated dynamically. Those still would use your original settings. So just remember that. So nice little feature here that I think a lot of people will get use out of to clarify to their customers exactly what they're doing when they perform their checkups and inspections of the system. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to help you get going with that.